So, like good thing you talked about Rwanda. When you look at the same Human Development Index scale we're talking about, Rwanda actually, I think, if I'm not mistaken, ranks the highest.
That's right.
Amongst African countries
That's
on
right.
that scale. So, but how did we get Paul Kagame? Was it by luck? Because he comes from the stock.
That's right.
Because oftentimes I say, okay, if you bring me a leader, I'm going to look at the stock from which that leader came. And the leader is probably going to reflect that stock. So what's the difference?
So you can come from the ghetto,
yeah,
but doesn't mean the ghetto has to stay with you. It's called exposure.
What will wash the ghetto away from you?
The first thing is exposure. If you want to change a person, change their thinking, what are they exposed to? Who is influencing them? Yeah. Those are the things you want to think about. What is the passion of their heart? Those are the things. You find a young man, for example, in the ghetto, grew up with all this killing and drugs and everything, and still makes it. That the Sergeant Carson, Ben Carson, he came through all of those things with all the bad things and became one of the best sergeants in the world. What accounted for that? Partly is your background. In the midst of those things, they are still good leaders, but they're never given the opportunity to lead because of vested interest in different sectors. That's really the problem. So most of what we see as a problem are so ingrained in the system that you're trying to change the system and the system actually sucks you in and spits you out. So if we are going to do anything different in Africa, we need a rude awakening in Africa. We have to get rid of whole generation.
How do we do
that? First of all, the electorates have to be a little more educated in how they vote.
But you see, that's the problem. How do you get them to be educated? Because they are in the system already. They come through the ranks. They come through as local government chairman. They have become senator. They become governor. There's a whole host of them. They control the system. So who comes from outside to make changes?
Well, this is the key. A lot of times I hear the people in Nigeria say, oh, we just like the American system. They're not. The American system is set up that the very powerful do not rule everything. The power actually comes from the people. For example, you can win the popular vote and still not become president. Yeah. What does that mean?
As we just saw.
Exactly. Yeah. The idea is the smaller states have a say. Everybody has some say. You cannot just keep it to the East Coast or the West Coast to decide who's president. Yeah. In other words, you have more of a representative democracy. You have the electoral college where they actually vote. And you don't really vote. It's based on who wins in those small areas. So they say in America, all politics is local. Yeah. But in Nigeria, all politics is national. Yeah. What's the difference? In Nigeria, from the national coffers, you spread the money out. Mm. In the United States, everything is raised locally. Yeah. So if you're not a local person, you really don't have much of a say in the local area. Yeah. So even if money is coming from other places, the local people know how to control the narrative for their local election, and they're actually really represented in the national body. Yeah. So some of it is there has to be some systemic changes in how things are, even in the Constitution.